Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Construct Strategically, Yarns with Andy. Today I've got Harriet Birchall. Harriet Birchall is from Lynx Recruitment. So she's into recruiting specialist people for construction. So Harriet, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for making the time. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us a bit more about yourself and your journey into construction.
So I started my construction journey as a site administrator.
Oh, yeah.
I did that for 2 years, and then from there I went into marketing and communications for a main contractor. Then from there I started tender and bid writing, and then from there I got into recruitment.
Well, that's quite an interesting journey, isn't it?
It is.
I never knew that, right? So you've gone from bid writing to site administration work and it's all of that into recruiting. How are you finding recruiting?
Recruiting in this market is definitely difficult.
Yeah.
It's one of the hardest markets that we've had to go through since 2008.
Yeah.
There are a lot of transient people in this market. However, a lot of it has also stagnated. But what we're mostly finding at the moment is the fact that there's so much work on,
right,
and just no one to do it.
Yep. And why do you think that is? Is that?
I think it's a range of reasons. I think obviously after the COVID lockdown, a lot of people wanted to get out of New Zealand.
Yeah.
Obviously pay rates in, say, the likes of Australia are significantly better than what they are here.
Are they though?
Well, this is the thing. So obviously they tax at a higher rate. But also like lifestyle. Lifestyle in Australia, I just don't think you can beat it.
I wouldn't trade New Zealand for anything.
You wouldn't?
I don't know. I don't think I would.
Oh, maybe I wouldn't either now.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I go to Australia and I can get bitten by snakes. I'm safe here.
Well, yeah. You don't have that problem here.
Don't have that problem yet.
No.
Yeah, so I pay marginally higher taxes and a higher cost of living. And I'm safe though.
Yeah.
Aren't I?
Yeah, for sure. But also the youngins as well. Like as of those,
Yeah.
I'm of that generation anyway, where everyone seems to be, going on to bigger and brighter things, whether it be the UK, US, Australia. It's just what it is.
So from a trend perspective, you reckon you've seen a shortfall or just critical staff or skilled resources leaving the country?
Yes.
More than into the country?
Yeah, so what happened is obviously everyone was anticipating an influx from overseas.
Yeah.
And once we got over, the post-COVID era, I don't think it was as significant as what everyone had thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And also I think probably, it's just my opinion, but
Go on.
like the appeal of New Zealand has definitely dissipated since, pre-COVID.
Oh, you think so?
I think so, yeah.
Why is that?
I think it's also just getting into the country. The cost of living here is obviously extremely high now.
It's crazy out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people we see moving jobs at the moment are also due to, raising interest rates. They actually need to pay their mortgages. Everything is more expensive.
Yeah, everything is crazy expensive right now. You're definitely not wrong there.
No.
But yeah, so and you believe those are some of the contributing factors to people leaving New Zealand?
Yeah.
Well, I would have left if I was a full-time employee too,
Yeah.
truth be told.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if snakes are going to bite me.
It's just one of those things though, I think the market has changed considerably.
Yeah.
And it's only really started to get noticed now that everything's starting to calm down.
Yeah.
And we are on our way to getting back to normal life.
Yeah.
But being in construction and then coming out of it and starting to resource for construction, you realise that people are genuinely what makes this whole market go round.
Oh, absolutely. People are the only ones that can actually influence change. You can set the best process, but you still need people to execute that process.
Yeah.
You can have the best technology. You need people to work that technology, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's quite interesting. Let's talk a little bit about just the influx of work and then the work that's available right out there. Have you seen that grow drastically from you probably know all the projects out there in your current role. How would you compare that to pre-COVID era?
Oh, that's a funny one.
Is it?
Because the major players, to be fair, they have the resources to be able to take on more projects. Whereas like when certain companies, maybe I shouldn't say that, it sounds terrible.
Go on.
When certain companies...
we can always edit it out.
Yeah, they went through the struggle of the COVID period.
Yes.
Obviously, they started to then really soak up their resources that they had. So when we came out, people had monopolised the market due to the fact that they could push through that period. So you see a lot of people at the moment sort of stagnate. They want to finish their projects that they have. They don't want to over leverage. They don't want to over leverage with staff. What that also means is when they
don't want to take on more risk as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
But what does that mean for the future of construction now in New Zealand? So if we're going to have this consistent amount of work that's going to exist for an extended period of time, where do we find the resource from?
Well, this is the $1 million question, isn't it?
Right. So what can we do differently?
I think what I've seen over the past few months is a huge emphasis on well-being.
Yeah.
And retaining staff
Yeah.
is huge, especially in this market.
But that's not always the easiest thing to do either, is it?
No, it's not. Because some people
Yeah.
be appeased, right?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
the grass
right?
always seems greener on the other side.
Yeah, and then your pay rises come into play, and then there's always people taking on jobs or positions 2 levels higher than they currently are.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting, and that's kind of changed the dynamic of the New Zealand recruiting market.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
I've fallen flat on my face a fair few times.
Right.
It's just...
Well, could you give us an example? Without getting into too much detail,
Without
or
getting into
naming, or naming names.
Without getting into too much detail, I think it's an easy thing to be able to deceive your way through in the early stages.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I could sit here and tell you that I'm an engineer.
Yeah, sweet.
But then when you actually gave me an engineering task, I'd go,
Right.
I'm not an engineer.
Right.
And it's disappointing because obviously people put a lot of time and resources into recruiting, especially companies. We have a 3-month liability period. And when it comes to the end of that 3-month liability period, if someone hasn't succeeded in that 3 months, then you haven't lost a whole lot of resource. Say I recruit specifically quantity surveyors. So if I put a quantity surveyor into a role that they can't fulfill and they stay in there for a year, think about how much financial damage they could have done to that company or to that project, and then they just walk away and go, nah, too hard. And then they've left that problem there.
And they've probably left more of a mess than it originally was.
And what they're willing to admit as well.
That's quite an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Well, what would you say is the cost of actually recruiting one person? Is that...
For a company?
Yeah.
It depends what kind of rate they're set up at.
Yeah.
But it can be anywhere between 10 and potentially 40,000.
To just recruit a person and onboard a person, and that would include training.
Training, so that's the fee.
Yeah.
The recruitment fee. That's then the laptop, the phone. If they're coming from overseas, it's cost of visas, it's cost of stationery, vehicles, it's cost of admin staff trying to onboard someone. It's a huge cost that
It's
no one
crazy.
really acknowledges. Yeah.
No, I mean, I can relate to that as a business owner, right?
Yeah.
So I started strategic planning a year and a half ago in the midst of COVID, and I'm still shit scared to recruit a person.
Yeah.
Truth be told, I'm just scared. I'm like, it's quite a significant cost to recruit a person, and what if I make the wrong decision? I don't have a HR team to support me.
Yeah.
I am the HR team.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how do I actually manage all of that? You know, it's just like, oh, crazy thoughts, and I'm like too hard. Put in the too hard basket.
Yeah.
I just carry on doing the work myself. That's currently the situation I'm in. So I can actually totally relate to some of these companies, you know, and the cost of just that one wrong decision would cost them a ton of money.
And it's also in your time as well. Like think how you could invest your time that would be way better spent for the success of your business.
100%, right. It's not spent training somebody who's then just going to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially in this market as well, there are a lot, people in probably junior to intermediate positions are very much transient, just due to the fact they haven't seen the market transpire over the past 20 so years.
Yeah.
And they always think that the grass is greener on the other side. Always.
Isn't it?
It's not though, because it's like, well, it's the devil you do know, the devil you don't know, right?
Yeah, sure. But then if the next guy's giving you an additional $20,000, why wouldn't you take that job? I mean, I'm just looking at it from a very
totally.
youngin perspective, as you call it. But I just go, oh, I've got 20 G's extra. I'm just going to take the job. I'll figure it out. I'll go there and wing my way through it.
Yeah.
That's literally what I think.
Yeah. Well, I've had conversations like that with people, and what they don't realise is that's $20,000 more work that they're going to have to put in. You're not doing the same job for more money. You're doing a different job for more money.
Yep. Fair. Fair.
But again, it's what you see on the third-party perspective, right?
Yeah. What if they're smart enough to wing their way through that job as well?
Then where are you? Tell me where you are. I'll help you out. Yeah. Sounds like the perfect candidate.
Who?
Oh, fuck, I haven't seen one yet.
And me neither. Me neither. All right. Okay. So let's talk more about your recruitment journey as well, right? From a say construction digitalization perspective, is there any cool technology that you're kind of adopting to help you recruit?
See, wildly enough, what I didn't realise when I went to recruitment, because obviously I was on the other side of it, being an employee of a construction company.
Yeah.
So you don't realise how many of the services are out there that actually have back end that obviously people in my position can now see.
Yeah, right.
So Seek has a back end.
Right.
So you can get Seek Recruiter or Seek Employer, I believe it's called. And every time someone uploads their CV to Seek, we can see it.
Oh, cool.
There's also LinkedIn Recruiter, so you can see the back end of obviously LinkedIn, and you can type people by where they live, job, company, everything.
I've got a LinkedIn Sales Navigator.
Do you?
Yeah, the attention seeker set me up for that. That's really cool.
Was it worth it?
Oh, mate, absolutely. Every penny. I'm in there. If I'm going to take on a new job, I'm totally checking out how many people there are, how many decision makers they've recruited in the last 6 months, what their companies, the amount of people they're hiring or are leaving the company. So it's all key indicators. It's quite good.
But having that information at your fingertips, like think about it, 10 years ago, never would have been there. And you never would have thought about it. You never thought it would have made a difference to anything that you do. Yeah. And now you kind of look at that technology and you think,
standard.
That bases every single decision that we make.
Yeah, and you're just automatically jumping in their back end. Yeah, no, really cool. What other technology is out there that kind of really helps you as a recruiter?
Helps me as a recruiter? That's a great question. I mean, Google. God, you can find anything on Google.
Google is God.
Anything about anyone, you can find it on Google.
Yeah, true.
Like, I will never, ever be posting anything online ever again. 10 years back, I don't want to be like someone typing my name in and saying what I got up to 10 years from now.
Yeah. No, I'm totally wary of that. And that's why my wife and I are really particular about not putting any of our children's photos online, ever. Because we want to give them the choice to put or manage their social media presence. And I don't want to make that choice for them. Yeah. Taking away a choice from a child.
Well, it's also, you don't know what's going to come 10 years down the line, right?
No idea, right? How is this technology going to evolve? How's this data going to evolve? Right? No idea. Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Well, I think there's like every single bit of the internet is useful as a recruiter because it's a people-based business, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's, finding more about your clients, that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have a quantity surveyor and go, well, I'm just going to fling this quantity survey to every company in Auckland. But essentially, you can't do that.
No, you've got to figure out the right fit for the right person.
Yeah, because I'm wasting the candidate's time, I'm wasting the client's time, and essentially I'm actually wasting my time as well.
How do you go about that journey? That whole journey of actually identifying your client's requirements to finding the right people?
It took me probably quite a long time to do, actually.
Yeah.
Being young in a business of very well-educated and experienced people.
Yeah.
It definitely took me a while to understand the fact that you actually do have to sit there and listen, and you've got to listen twice as much as what you speak.
Yep.
But it's just asking the right questions. It's also going out and meeting people, shaking hands, walking into their offices, just absorbing their environment.
Coffees.
Yeah.
Beers.
And for candidates, I mean, for a lot of people, work is their life, and they don't actually realise. But you spend most of your life at work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, ideally you wouldn't. But most people do.
Yeah, that's actually true because you spend 8 hours at a minimum at work. You spend 4 hours with your family and the rest of the time sleeping.
So it's hugely important that you like your job, you like who you're working with, you like the projects that you're working on.
Yeah.
And you just got to find out what motivates people and what motivates companies. That's
an interesting way to go about it. Have you had quite a bit of success? The way you've been going about recruiting?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Good on ya.
I mean, that's probably the question for the people.
Oh, yeah. Put it out there. Put it out there. Get some comments going.
Are you happy with my service?
Hey, yeah. Come on, people. Let us know in the comments if you're happy with Harriet's service. Yeah.
If you're not, just keep it to yourself.
Put in the comments.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I wanted to touch a little bit about overseas skilled labour coming into New Zealand, right? Post-COVID,
Yeah.
have you seen, is there a lot of international people, are there a lot of international people coming into New Zealand to fill in key specialised roles that we can't fill in New Zealand right now?
Are you talking about trades and labour, or are you talking about white collar professionals?
Both. Let's start with your project managers and project engineers and your project directors, and then move on to the labourers.
So with the white collar profession, there are two things that come into that, right? So obviously it's understanding acknowledgement of New Zealand contract. That's quite hard.
Because
obviously, it's very, very important for someone in a senior position to understand that.
But it's not a very hard contract.
No, it's not.
It's probably the most simple contract.
But again, you look at it, and it's the time and money. So it's taking someone from overseas, right? So getting them out of wherever they come from, say the UK.
Yeah.
So I had a client the other day who recruited a senior QS. We took him out of the UK. He's living in London. And he is coming to New Zealand in the start of December.
Right.
So we started recruiting him, I think, he signed his contract in August.
Yeah.
And he would have been here 2 months ago.
Yeah.
But throughout the entire process of getting his visa approved and, moving his family and getting a house here and setting up his life here, it's taken all the way through to the start of December.
Sure.
So it's a mammoth effort.
Yep.
So
that's what, 4 months, 5 months?
Yeah.
Give or take?
And then obviously, they pay my fee. Then the company that's taking him on is accredited. So then they've gone through the entire visa process with him. So that's come at a cost for them.
Yep.
It's also the time it's taken to sit on immigration lawyers and immigration itself and to the guy overseas. And it's a lot of moving parts in it. So why would it's the trade-off between taking someone that's skilled and is going to be there, or do you take someone already in New Zealand and skill them up yourself?
Difficult choice. Yeah. And what if you go through that entire pain of hiring somebody from overseas and he doesn't work out?
Yeah.
He doesn't fit within the culture.
Yeah. Or you've spent your time, as an employer, you've spent your time training up someone that's already in New Zealand and he F's off to another company because they're going to pay him $10,000 more. And you're like, I've just invested all this time and money in you. Yeah. And you're gone.
That's a really interesting challenge, though. Eh? How do you get around it? How do you stabilize the market? Because what it kind of feels like to me is like this entire resource market is really, really unstable. Right? It's people jumping ships constantly. There's that consistent workforce that existed pre-COVID doesn't really exist anymore. That's kind of what I'm hearing.
Or even just like loyalties. I mean, if take the GFC for example, the amount of companies that you thought were stable and then they ended up toppling. Yeah. And I think there's an air in the media at the moment about impending recession. So everyone's very like, do I move for more money now, or am I going to be the first one on the chopping block when I leave, or do I stay with this company? Is this company stable? I don't know what their finances are looking like. Yeah. Could I just lose my job tomorrow? I mean, you take for example. Yeah. They were selling, had houses out the wazoo. Yeah. And then they just turned around one day and cut 30% of their workforce.
Did they? No, I didn't know that. Right.
Yeah. It's in the media. People know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm just not keeping up with the news then. Yeah.
But it was like, we saw an influx. I saw an influx the day after my inbox just got made redundant.
Oh, right. And then they're all out there looking for jobs. Interesting. I mean, that's what happens when interest prices go up, I suppose. Yeah. And cost of living goes up and companies go bust. Oh, interesting. Okay.
But is that going to be the first of many? Who knows? Is it just going to be that one?
So the market's really unstable from a company hiring perspective. The market's really unstable from an employee perspective. Where do you see us in the next couple of years?
That's a great question. I think people that have made it through this period with employees that have made it through this period with the current companies that they're in, I think the loyalty and longevity that's been shown, I think they'll stay there. I think it's now started a trend of being transient because money grabbing was never a huge thing. Do you know what I mean? People always wanted to work for a company because of their name or the projects that they had on. It was never really like a money grab.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably just started a new trend. I don't know if it ever like teeter or phase out. It's just a matter of seeing, especially how the economy goes.
So you reckon all of those decisions are based on the economy? Interesting. Maybe not. I'm not sure.
You don't reckon?
I don't know. Time will tell.
Yeah.
Time will tell. I think I think with just a new way of working, with I'd be working for Google today.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have to leave the office. I could sleep in the office. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a completely different lifestyle to Google do my laundry for me. I get lunches served, it's totally different lifestyle. Maybe that could be an appealing aspect of how companies could look at retaining employees. I don't know. Benefits.
The benefits now are huge though.
They are huge?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So to be fair, 3 years ago, never heard of a project bonus. Now, project bonuses are huge.
That's good, yeah.
Profit share has become quite significant, especially for people in senior roles.
Yeah.
Also, the classic working from home 1 day a week.
Yeah.
Or companies going out and buying a stash of pool cars and having pool cars there.
Yeah.
Just about making life easier for people.
100%. Yeah. I mean, if you can do your job from home, why show up to the office, right?
Yeah.
That makes a huge difference. Yeah. Anyways, so do you have any questions for me?
How are you?
Oh, mate, great. Fucking busy.
Yeah. It's good to be busy though.
Yeah, it's really good to be busy, but I'm kind of facing some of the same challenges that you're talking about as well.
Yeah.
It's just workloads up there.
Yeah.
Everybody wants everything done in half the time frame now.
Yeah.
Your procurement lead times are twice as long. It's interesting challenges. I'm trying to stay away from disputes.
Yeah.
And
No one likes a fight though, do they?
Yeah, but you mean when you know you can help resolve an issue?
Yeah.
That's dispute resolution for me.
Yeah.
When I believe I can add value to the process.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know I can, but I've got to kind of step back and go, where can I add more value to the construction industry as a whole?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I've been focusing.
Yeah.
And this podcast and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but life's good.
How have you found it going from an employee to an employer?
Oof, great question. So I've traded 9 to 5.
Yeah.
For 24/7.
Yeah.
In short, that's kind of what I've done.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's real interesting. There are things that I'm doing now that I never thought I'd do. I've got to deliver work to get paid.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't get paid.
Yeah.
I can't sit down and go, right, I'm just going to take a couple of weeks off and I'm going to take a mental health break and actually focus on. You don't have time to do that. You're just out there, you get the work, you deliver. And then I had a COVID period where I was going, shit, I don't have enough work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like the ups and downs. And then it's also quite interesting when I took 3 weeks off recently, 4 weeks off. When I came back, mate, I was like flat out for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like all the work was waiting for me. When I came back, I'm like, the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
This is crazy. And I was just like, at one point in time in those 3 weeks, I didn't know which job I was sitting at. So, for a meeting too. I was like jumping on a Teams link and I was like, what job is this? I've got to figure it out now.
Yeah.
Then recollect everything about the job. So it's interesting. It's interesting in short.
Yeah.
I don't think this lifestyle's for everybody.
No, definitely not, because everyone would do it if it was.
Yeah. It's quite up there. You're the accountant, you're the HR, you're the marketing professional, you're out there selling the business. I'm out there attending meetings all morning, working all night.
Yeah.
Good fun. I love it.
Yeah.
It's definitely for me. But I don't know where strategic planning is going to go. So, out there, give it a go. See what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's all positive.
Yeah.
It's all up.
That's it. All right. Anyways, thank you so much for your time, and thank you
me.
so much for being on the show.
Thank
Hopefully, you are my second woman on this podcast.
Am I?
Yeah. After Annie. That's really cool. Yeah.
Fuck, if only I was the first. Could have told all my mates.
You could have told. Second. It's so cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Second blonde.
Second.
First blonde.
First blonde? Yeah, there we go.
Win. All good.
Thank you, Harriet.
Thank you for having me.